Alex Collier on Sightings on the Radio with Jeff Rense, Part 2. 1998. Alex Collier on Sightings on the Radio with Jeff Rense. August 21, 1998, excerpts. Transcript by Leading Edge Research Group, September 1998. Junior, Jeff Rense AC, Alex Collier. Jeff, the material that Alex Collier presented when he was on the program 2 weeks ago was unbelievable to some, preposterous to others, but to most it is downright logical, and that's the part that has people intrigued. Alex has been a contactee for a long period of time, and we appreciate his coming back to spend time with all of us. Hi Alex, thanks for coming back. Alex, thanks for having me. Jeff, I have been looking at some of the letters from Andromeda, and they look like interesting reading. Tell us about those. Alex, you are referring to the X newsletter. We have 1 or 2 issues left and we are going to discontinue it. It's simply a time factor. Also, I don't always get my information on a timely basis. There's just no pattern to it. There is plenty of older information, and I am trying to put that into the next 3 books. There will be 3 more. They will not be a compendium, like the first one. They will have chapters in a different format. Jeff, Alex Collier is a contactee. We have of course talked about abductees. You're not an abductee. Alex, no, sir, I'm not. Not in any way, shape or form. You know, Jeff, I will try to explain this. Many of your listeners cannot imagine this, and that's okay. You have to trust your own intuition, and some of us have forgotten how to use our imagination, so you can imagine things that you think aren't real but possibly are. That's okay, but let's talk about a civilization, a society, that is so healed that literally no one has to work, that they can literally do anything they want to themselves, as long as it doesn't hurt another soul in that society. Because they don't have to work, and don't have to pay taxes, and because they don't have the demands of survival that we have, they can spend a great deal of time working on themselves. What I am talking about is self-evolution, self-development, voluntary self-introspection, so that even though they come in with full consciousness, they know and realize that they have not reached their full potential. Now, if you try to take that kind of society and compare it to ours, where we are put into survival situations every day, and we have religions, many of which proclaim that the only way we're going to get to heaven is through prayer, sacrifice, penance, pain, obedience. All these limitations, we also have a history that has historically been kept secret from the population, a history that is slowly beginning to seep through the cracks. We have been taught for thousands of years that we were created in a week, etc. I don't mean to pick on any religious denomination, but frankly some of them deserve it. Also, we have Western psychology which says everything in human civilization started in Greece. They don't even address the fact that the Greeks learned what they knew from the Persians, Chaldeans, Sumerians, etc. They tell you that it started in Greece and move it up to today. The observation that Moreni has made is that everyone in our civilization is experiencing an identity crisis. We really don't, collectively or individually, know who we are. This has been my biggest frustration. Break. Jeff, with countless examples of other life being on this planet, in terms of archaeological relics, items found in rock strata millions of years old. I mean, all these things are withheld from us. Little tiny hints, here and there, of our true history on this planet, which goes back probably millions of years. Alex, at least. Virtually every history textbook used in schools is obsolete by the time it's printed. Not that the information in them is accurate, anyway. We know this, and so many people know the story of the pyramids, which now have been placed at 71,200 years old, to be exact. The ones in the ocean off the coast of Japan are much older. Ruins are everywhere, and people just sit there. You know, people have forgotten to be critical thinkers. Jeff, yes, and this is the result of a conditioning process that has taught people not to think. Alex, yes, that's true, but you still have free will. And there are some of us who have been through the same stuff, you know, who have wanted and been able to take a step out of this conditioning. Jeff, that's what we're all about here, to get people to exercise that free will and step back and say, I don't have to do this. Alex, I heard about a study which indicated that an average father has meaningful conversation with his children about 28 minutes a week. Okay, we were talking about archaeology. Yes, this is being suppressed and being covered up because for some reason the powers that be, which include extraterrestrials as well as government, scientists and historians, don't want to take the responsibility to rewrite history. They want to keep us in the little box that they think they have us in, as opposed to having the guts to stand up and say something like, "Ladies and gentlemen of humanity, it is time to radically change our thinking." You know, a look at archaeology clearly shows a pattern of development that we have ignored, and I believe that if we were totally open to the discoveries of archaeology, the things that are going to reveal now, we would have something to compare ourselves to. They are trying to tell us that we as a race evolved in the wild and formed communities, when in fact we were originally in communities, but due to a series of events, some of them geophysical, various catastrophes, extraterrestrial manipulation, genocide by other ET races, etc., we were scattered into the wilds to survive. There, we created other cultures and other rituals that would hold small communities together, a sense of identity. It isn't at all the way we are taught in schools. They're so wrong about so many things concerned with our past. They have this lid on the big box. The minute we wake up, the game is over. The game changes. It's supposed to change. We are supposed to evolve, but we have been held back for a long time. Jeff, you mentioned that the Andromedan society was healed. Did it heal, or did it evolve? Alex, I understand it was both. Millions of years ago, the second book and part of the third book will deal with this. All human life was seeded in Lyrae in our galaxy. The human species was not created in Lyrae. It was seeded there from somewhere else. Where the human race originally came from, the Andromedans have not yet discovered themselves. I don't know if other races have. Jeff, when you say human race, what are we talking about? Alex, we are not talking about the primate races, but a race similar to the way we are now. My understanding is that the human race originally, our ancestors, were literally brought in by another race that acted as steward. Jeff, the Anunnaki? Alex, no. It was way before the Anunnaki. We are talking about the actual seeding of the human race in our galaxy. The forefathers of the Anunnaki were also from Lyrae. What they have told me is that the human races were evolving in Lyrae within many solar systems in that star system. The reason they chose that system was because of the frequencies of the sun were sufficient to permit a human physical form, as it was then, with 12 strands of DNA and 15 feet tall and about 400-500 pounds. Now, according to the Andromedans, another race appeared and came out of a higher dimensional realm and helped seed the human race in this galaxy. While they were doing this, there was already another previously seeded race in our galaxy, a reptilian race. They were seeded here from another universe located in another space-time dimension. The reptilians were brought to our galaxy and seeded here. They are who we now know as the Alpha Draconians. Their original lineage is a race known as the Chiakar, and they have a caste system based on genetics. As we go through this and explain how everything happened, you will see some incredible similarities with not only what has happened to our planet, but also what has happened to other races. So, what happened is that the human race, agricultural in nature, was evolving in Lyrae. They eventually began to develop space travel, and as they were still developing space travel and working together, several large draconian craft showed up and they were startled. The reptilians were the first race in our galaxy to develop space travel. At some point, the humans and the reptilians on these giant craft began to communicate, and the story that has been handed down tells us that the draconians wanted to control the wealth that they saw on these Lyran planets. Now, the draconian race survives best on hot, desert planets. Jeff, are they carnivorous as well? Alex, they have become carnivorous. The encounter between the two races in Lyrae is apparently where the reptilians had their first taste of human flesh, and they like it. Jeff, were they eating our ancestors? Alex, we'll get to that in a minute. When the draconians showed up, they were driven and motivated to explore space to search for food. All races have their different motives for doing what they do. The situation for the draconians was that they were migrating and building up their original population so fast that they had to develop space travel. As they moved out into the galaxy, they would find planets and moons with resources they could use. They continued to migrate, taking what they needed when they needed it, and moved on. When they got to Lyrae, they discovered several solar systems with incredible planets which had water, food and lush vegetation. They immediately wanted to control this space route, because they realized the value of the resources. When they approached the Lyrans were extremely suspicious of the reptilians, because the Chiakar element of the race were very aggressive. It is their way. So, We have two races who had previously thought they were alone on the galaxy who come into contact with each other. We are talking about two antithetical races in many ways. This is approximately 572 million years ago. Apparently there was a misunderstanding in communication, wherein the Chiakar were asking for access to the food and the minerals. The Lyrans, apparently didn't understand what the Draconians wanted, and wanted to know more about the Chiakar. In other words, they were not about to hand control over planets in their system to the Draconians without really knowing who they were dealing with. Apparently the Chiakar interpreted the hesitation of the Lyrans as a denial of their request and took offense. Within hours they began attacking the Lyran system, which didn't really have any weapons. It was the attack by the Chiakar that forced the Lyrans to migrate out of that system and spread out into the galaxy. It also forced them to develop weapons. One of the considerations the Lyrans had as they spread through space was to search for water, because humans have to have water. The Andromedan perspective is that some Lyrans found an asteroid that had a great deal of ice water and hid inside this asteroid, and there they began to develop their own identity. They continued to explore space and look for solar systems that would sustain them. The human race continued to evolve and went to the Vega system, Deneb, the Sirian and Rigel systems, and all these star systems all over the galaxy. So, they were on these ships fleeing the reptilian invasion, growing their own food on the craft and looking for water, and the human race became very adaptable and creative. Once we understand our lineage and our relationship to the galaxy, we as a race are going to be very proud of who we were, and who we can be now. We are not done with our evolution. Jeff, what about the primate race? Alex, my understanding is that the original human race did not have the primate gene line in it. Jeff, what next? Let's take some questions. We have a listener in Sweden that would like to know about Maldek. Alex, the destruction of Maldek, whose pieces comprise our asteroid belt, took place when there was a war in our solar system about 2.4 million years ago. There have been many wars in this part of our galaxy that have started because of efforts to control resources and water. The wars have not just been limited to our solar system. My understanding is that the last Great War occurred 437,000 years ago in our solar system. Jeff, did planets get moved during the war? Alex, I don't know. All I know is that the races who came here subsequently have tried to put stability back into the system by moving planets and moons into and out of the system. For example, our moon was brought here from Ursa Minor as a war carrier, which is why our moon is hollow and there is all kinds of stuff there, not only on the surface but inside. The planets Mercury and Venus were originally moons from other planets. Venus was originally a moon of Saturn. Jeff, how many races have you been told about? Alex, 171 different races, many of them not human, that have cultures in our galaxy. There are 139 races in the Andromedan Council which are monitoring us right now, as well as 21 other races. 22 systems altogether are experiencing this identity crisis and the breakdown of suppression of thought. Jeff, we are getting reports of alleged extraterrestrial warfare in our atmosphere, and there are reports coming out of Russia telling about a downed craft over 1,800 feet long. Is there warfare going on now in our solar system? Alex, my understanding is that there are absolutely some skirmishes going on. I have not heard of them being this close, unless it was our own governments doing something. The actual skirmishes are taking place between Neptune and Uranus. Jeff, who's fighting? Alex, well, you have the Draconian race, some races from Orion, a race from Nibiru. You have races which belong to the Andromedan Council from Tau Ceti, Arcturus, Pleiadian Council races, and many other races, including some from Cassiopeia. Jeff, what are they fighting over? Alex, it's about territory and control of the solar system. We also have two unique anomalies in our solar system as far as planets are concerned, Saturn and Jupiter. These two planets put out interdimensional frequencies. The energy that is emitted from them comes from a higher realm. They are like antennae, and they are seen as very unique in this part of the galaxy. Jeff, will there be an intervention here, or is there a hands-off policy? What have you been told about that? Alex, my understanding is that there already has been intervention, and there will be more. We are going to have to take responsibility for ourselves. We will get help, but the destruction of the planet by nuclear weapons will not be allowed. They would not allow a prolonged nuclear exchange to take place. Nuclear weapons send shock waves through many dimensional realms, affecting other races and beings. Even underground nuclear tests. Jeff, Human civilization on this planet has risen to great heights many times and then fallen several times, correct? Alex, that's correct. Jeff, were we at one time genetically manipulated in order to work for another species mining the resources of the Earth? Alex, yes, that's true. Jeff, I have a question here. It says to ask you about the people from Nibiru came to be? Alex, what I know of them in terms of their genetic stock is that the word itself, Nibiru, is a word of Orion origin which I am told means the joining of two tribes. Apparently this original tribe was created as a marriage between a princess of reptilian human ancestry from Orion and a group from Sirius of human origin. It was a marriage of alliance, millions of years ago. Jeff, the Alpha Draconians, the reptilians, what is their attitude toward us now, and how do they relate to us and attack towards us? Alex, my understanding, from what I have learned from Marini, is that the Alpha Draconians still have a very strong prejudice towards the human race. Jeff, what kind of prejudice? Alex, my understanding is that it has created quite a bit of conflict. It still creates conflict, so I assume it's not a good thing. I will also say that the reptilians look at us and the other races as being lower races that constitute a natural resource. Jeff, are the reptilians plentiful on this planet? Do they come and go as they please? Are they subterranean? Alex, no, there are only a little over 1,800 of them here, inside the planet. Jeff, are they meddling? Some people have said that they can see reptilians behind world leaders. Alex, I don't know about the latter, but I know they are manipulating. Jeff, are they having sex with our women? Alex, that has been known to happen. Caller, do you see Nibiru coming towards us at any time in the near future? Alex, the actual planet itself, no I don't. But, the race will be here soon, and some of them are already in our solar system. They are coming back. Preliminary teams and scouting teams. We are at a very interesting crossroad as a race. Jeff, are they human? Alex, they are reptilian human. My understanding is that they have human features but portions of their skin have scales. Jeff, so they are a hybrid race. Alex, yes, more or less. Now, if a race, the reptilians for example, wanted to come here and breed with us, what they would do is genetically alter the race first. Their lifespan is on average 7-10 times what ours is, sometimes more. They come in and take the women and genetically alter their bodies, then genetically alter the sperm to accommodate it. From that point on, the offspring are physically changed and the frequency of the body also changes, which then changes the brain waves and the way the genetic code alters the body. There is a whole science of genetics and creating physicality that we as a race are just beginning to understand. These races are sometimes 500,000 years ahead of us in this area. Jeff, we are sometimes told about the Greys doing work in this area. Are there other hybrid programs here? Alex, yes, there are. The Greys have their own agenda. Their race is dying, and they came here to not only tag our race, identify members with certain genetic coding because of specific genetic lineages. They have tried to create a Grey-human hybrid. They are not here to help us. They are self-seeking little bugs, if you want my honest opinion. Jeff, there are 2 or 3 different kinds. The taller ones. Alex, they are the original rays. Jeff, I have a call-in question here. Could a flyover be orchestrated as to minimize bloodshed, or is this an inevitable part of a population's growth? Alex, that's a great question. It is my belief and desire that this would be done in a very no-threatening way. You are going to have people who are going to freak out anyway. People freak out when there is a power outage. There is nothing you can do about people who react in this kind of way. The whole purpose of the proposed flyby is to force us as a race out of our little box. Jeff, do the Andromedans and other races who will be participating in this flyover consider the flyover to be really necessary as part of their response to humanity's plea? Alex, my understanding is yes. I will also say this, and there have been only 3 or 4 people on the planet that have known what I am going to tell you. The reason this flyover is occurring, and that intervention will continue to occur, is primarily because of something that one of the Pleiadian races did not do thousands of years ago. Apparently, there was at one time something going on in our solar system, and this Pleiadian race made some sort of political spectacle in which they were not going to allow specific things to happen to our solar system. When the time came, they backed out of their promise, resulting in problems for our solar system. The Andromedan Council is putting pressure on the Pleiadian race to function as a significant part of the intervention and flyby, because it was their decision to break the promise that caused the human race to be manipulated thereafter.